The correct time.
Wer hat letztes Jahr ein Security?
But who watched Security Nightmares last year?
Nee, glaube ich nicht.
Nee, I don't think so.
In der Familie ein Security Nightmare erlebt.
Who of you had a security nightmare in your family? And who of you was your own security nightmare? Enough.
Jetzt kommen Ron und Frank.
Now we have Ron and Frank, security nightmares.
Ja, herzlich willkommen zu den
Yeah. Welcome to Security Nightmares. Hello, Leipzig.
Ich glaube, das ist das erste Mal.
I think this is the first time where I had problems getting into the hall. Which issue is this? This is this event is now of age. It's the 18th event of this kind.
And so the event can now get ready. And since October, so can everyone else too. The audience applauds.
Sie darf jetzt auch selber Mobilfunkverträge abschließen.
You can also sign up for mobile plans yourselves, cell phone plans, and high percentage alcohols and tobacco, and consume it. And stay in places dangerous to youth, like this place. And lotteries. That means Bitcoin. Did someone say Bitcoin?
Ja, wir hatten halt
And subscribe to the Datenschleuder.
vor der Abschlussveranstaltung, also die Veranstaltung, zur Abschlussveranstaltung alle da seid.
So we're the event that makes sure that everyone gets to the final talk. So how bad was it this year at Christmas? Who removed the Windows XP from a computer? 1, 2. Applause from the audience. And who wasn't allowed to remove the Windows XP this year because it ran so well? Well, then we can just go home, I guess. What I found really funny this year, we always say that you can relax here a little because you don't have to support others, make tech support here. But I heard that one or the other teenager didn't come here because the rest of the family is here anyway, and you already had them for 3 days, and that's just not possible. And then you have to think about how you can deal with that, because Stream isn't the answer to everything. Who had to get rid of one virus or Trojan? Who had to remove more than 10? Oh, nobody? Oh. There's something happening. Not more than 5 either? Who didn't know how many it was? Ah! The method has changed. You just set the machines up straight from scratch. So let's start.
This is a picture that my friend Pavel Meyer made. His job is making machines be able to see, and he determined that stoplights to machines they look like this, because if you take a picture of him at 60 frames per second, when it's changing between red and when it's changing between red and green, it looks like this strange effect that you're observing now. Whoops. And that's what we drive our cars with. Or sorry, no, that's what cars drive us with. So the beloved rubric 10 years ago, what happened 10 years ago? Citizen Trojans for more citizen participation. It's a reference to state Trojans.
But the digital age didn't stop at the political parties. And, for example, there were some leaks.
You guys saw that, right? How the parties got hung up with that. I think that's worth a hall's worth of applause. The other thing, in terms of citizen Trojans and citizen participation, is this Android app, Haven, by the Guardian Project and Freedom of the Press Foundation. Edward Snowden made some advertisement for that, if I'm correct, and that's.
Which is a thing that would be forbidden in Germany if we would place it here. Well, let's see where that leads. I think that's one of the first signs that evidence collection systems, for example, if you leave a hotel room, then you might want, you don't know, is that a public space or not, even though you just left the hotel room. I think this concept of public space we have to deal with that for quite a while now.
Remote government, surveillance work, outsourcing them. They're supposed to be private persons, patriotically minded, private people that brought down Iceland. Patriotically minded private citizens. They're able to take care of their electoral systems on their own and didn't need other observers. And Putin claimed that it was independent individuals as opposed to ones acting in with government coordination. And so that was the point. And so, and excuse me, it was Estonia and not Iceland. Modular superworms. The whole thing about superworms becoming a little more modular, like ransomware, as we've seen recently, and then we have the topic of biohacking. I think there were some people who had Ebola on a PowerPoint. Yeah, and since then,
some people on stage bowing to Frank and the other guy.
Excuse us, we are pausing there in the translation a little bit because we're so confused. As you can see that biohacking has made immense progress, as evidenced by the people crashing the stage just now.
Also ich weiß nicht, ob die Damen und Herren irgendwie schon mit CRISPR-Cas9 modifiziert wurden.
I don't know if those people have been modified with CRISPR, but I'd like to see that soon. So this CRISPR thing is a method for gene editing that's you can take it quite far. The FDA was just warning that it was trying out itself. And so I was hoping that we could get a little bit of that for the conference. I could imagine so many cool things, like some little, elf ears, or change some colors of some things. There are lots of ways that you can kind of toy around with things, but for next year, that's what we hope for. Then industry IT, child room IT, and hospital IT. And I recall that we were laughing ourselves dead with that dinosaur that we brought along. I don't know if you remember. This was a kind of a toy dinosaur that you could pet, and it would sort of hum at you. And it had a camera in it and a microphone, and it could make some little noises. And this year, a federal network agency forbid a children's toy. And child watches with microphones were also forbidden by the Bundesnetzagentur. And the nicest thing about it, I think, was the thing with the Furbies. You guys know that, right? They didn't stay stuck in the past. They now have Furby Connects that speak Bluetooth, and it doesn't need any authorization, and it plays audio files. So you can imagine where this is going. It just means you just need to get close enough to the children's rooms. And we would like an audio track from y'all. So if y'all, for 10 seconds, just chant cyber.
Dankeschön. Dankeschön.
Thank you. Beautiful. The loop isn't allowed to be any longer than that anyways.
Also eben, wenn ich dann Spielzeugläden.
So toy shops, when they all start to cyber in there, you'll know why. These days, this Furby sort of seems to be the great grandfather of something. Alexa. Did you say Alexa? Alexa, tell my therapist. That's seriously, that's a thing. There are multiple. And for competing products as well, multiple implementations of ELIZA, the original sort of therapist program, and of course, there are machine learning based therapist software, so you can talk with your advertising buddy or whatever. And so if you think about the human spirit is a stationary target.
So if you have this kind of mix of therapy session and application in one thing, you see the possibilities. Well, what could go wrong? The cloud pet guys also lost 2.4 million sound files of children, many users. The next thing was the cloud predictions, and the thing is, and if you sit there and predict the future and want to find out how hard things will be, then we think about things like Rowhammer, things like escaping from one VM, going to the other via the hardware. via errors in the main memory. But how does the reality look like? Well, there are ASLR bugs where nobody set up security measures. Rowhammer, you don't even need Rowhammer, just download it and have fun. The biggest data leaks were just terabytes of customer data, just variety of things. The other thing was the laughter about the iPhone in 2007, like, haha, an iPhone, like a phone where you can execute stuff on it, but nobody's asking for that.
Sicherheitsexperten, die sagen, dass es für den Konsumer die
So, but now security experts say that iPhones are the best thing security-wise for
Wenn die Exploits einmal teuer sind,
the common customer.
momentan,
Yeah, so this is a market-driven thing. When exploits are expensive, then everyone has the incentives to keep them high. And so they have the incentive to sort of dispense them slowly because they have the. It's good for everyone who's sitting on a pile of exploits. And then I wanted to add this one too because it was so good. Biometry, buffer overflow through smiling too wide. If the corner of your mouth move too far out of the center of your face, what happens? Is there a buffer overflow or not? Does someone have an iPhone 10 and can give that a try for us? Good. All right. Oh, yeah. And then Vista / Mac OS 10. Nothing to say about that. I mean, Vista was patched again this year with WannaCry, like that. And Mac OS 10. And since that, it had two-factor authorization, username and password.
Aber ich meine, die Dinge gehen einem nicht aus. Ja? Sie gehen einem überhaupt nicht aus. Outlook hat ein halbes Jahr bei S-MIME-Mails, also bei verschlüsselten Mails.
These things never stop. So, like Outlook for a couple years with S-MIME mails, supposedly encrypted mails, sent the clear text along with the message. And then the kick in the stomach is it only happened if the emails weren't HTML. So, like, mail's how you're supposed to send them, huh? All right. Well, it's the normalcy update.
Ein Username, Passwort-Kombo für einen
Username and password combination for a working mail account costs $8 to $15. In Germany, we had 83,000 cybercrime cases in 2016. With $51 million or million euros worth of damages. I'm wondering where these numbers are coming from. I mean, does that include WannaCry and everything? And then the store of the 300 million whatever, is that included? And are the stolen bitcoins in there? And that's the interesting question. There's this great joke in Hamburg.
There was the police took a container full of cocaine and then they said there was 4 tons of cocaine was put into the police of 4 tons of it, and 2 weeks later there all 2 tons of cocaine were destroyed. So we have something similar here. We had
somewhere, but we sold between 5 and 500, sort of referring to the volatility of Bitcoin. So ATMs, manipulation of ATMs, 476 cases, 56% in Berlin. What's going on there?
So there are you see all these ATMs and you just see them and you think these must be scamming devices, right? So you know these from other countries, but you can't just go around there and without seeing like 5 ATMs, but you really can't resist the urge to do a scamming device. Who took money from the ATM up there? Does someone know someone who took money from an ATM there? Did it at least smell good, the money? Was it fresh? Oh yeah. 50,000 MongoDBs. No, 27,000? No. Just 27,000 in 1 week in August. It was a massacre. The DDoS attacks that were publicly documented was 510 gigabits. Last year I read something about 600 gigabit, and in privately documented things we heard something about 800 gigabits. So, but we say that's progress in the cloud development. So the typical way of monetizing a service is like you send a mail, nice business you have there. You have this day where you sell a lot of stuff, and it would be a tragedy if the service was DDoS during that time. And then let me just demonstrate that to you, and yeah, then you...
yeah, and so Bitcoin is this suggested way of getting out of it. They give you an address that you can send the money to, and so if the traffic is exactly 15 minutes, and it's coming from AWS or Azure, and because we know that people are using the free accounts from these cloud providers to come together to pull together all of that capacity, and so there's no need to pay up, and so that's the logic of the internet these days. A round of applause from the audience for 100 million certificates from Let's Encrypt. And encrypted traffic in general has risen to 50%, if I'm correct, which is a great accomplishment in itself. And the crowd applauds again.
Ja, Apps faken.
Right. So faking apps is a thing these days. It's a thing now. So if you look at Google Play, in the Apple Store we had that too with that Ethereum thing. And last year we said that all app reviews are fake, but not just the app ratings. Maybe the apps themselves are fake, and maybe there's fake apps with real reviews. Depends on what you can afford. So 1 million downloads of the fake WhatsApp Messenger are from Google Play, and then the sobering percentage of the day is that Google Android security updates only reach about 50% of devices according to their own statistics. If you can believe it, is what I say. And so that we come to the next point, statistics that you haven't faked yourself. There were at least 2 zero-day studies, and one of the interesting numbers was that a 0 day, if it's known as that, has been living for 7 years. And so the vulnerability is 7 years in the fields, and use. And so it was just discovered 7 years ago and has been used, and the manufacturer still doesn't have a patch for it. And so this length of life is defined as the length of life ends when the manufacturer issues the update. And I find that absurd if you look at the number of people that still don't patch. The number of wounds that WannaCry inflicted, and the number of wounds that will still be inflicted because people still don't patch. That Microsoft patches this and that, or Google patched this and that, or whoever patches this and that. Those are headlines where I think that's nothing. Microsoft makes them available, and whether they arrive anywhere or they land anywhere is another question that isn't always one you can answer in the positive. Although this patching business, it causes these mechanisms by which their manufacturers roll out their patches on certain days, and it's developed into a kind of routine. Microsoft rolls out a patch, and then people open up IDA Pro and look out what kind of bugs were patched. And there's two markets. There's one for developing the exploits, and then
Weil der Grund, warum viele Leute nicht patchen, ist ja, dass sie halt Software haben, die halt dann nicht mehr funktioniert.
The other one is something about crashes. So the other reason that people don't patch is because software doesn't work. And so part of the reason you get people to patch is keeping the quality high. And so there's this rumor. There's this rumor that the rumor that Apple issues the really nice emojis with the important updates to motivate people to update it. Sorry. And so this is, of course, a crazy conspiracy theory. But if you can find out a way to make that work for IoT, then we should be thankful to him, to someone who could figure that out.
So Apple has found a way how they can make humans update. But for IoT, I think we can only make that work by fixing the light after the patch. So the light works again after the patch. So maybe you could add a display to every IoT device that could display a smiling cat if you update. So maybe like collectibles. I think this is a good business model.
Pokemon patching.
Yeah, like Pokemon patching. We need a gamification of patching.
Ja, das Wahlcomputer-Massaker.
The voting machine massacre went on this year. So the best thing are the
The best part is when people start looking for a metaphor for this whole voting computer village thing. It's almost like when you have when you shoot fish in a pond with a Gatling gun with exploding bullets, and it's not filled with water but gasoline.
So there was PC Wahl, and what's the name of the other thing? If we elect, yeah, that thing. We still have to wait for it. Yeah, that's not out yet. How did that happen? It was right before the federal election in Germany. Oh yeah, shadow brokers. So the phenomenon that we have malware with weaponized exploits, where the secret service pay for opening up other people's computers. Yeah, we have that
einfach mal irgendwo weggekommen sind.
under e-government because it was the weapon shelves of the NSA that were emptied. Yeah, these were 0 days that will accompany us for years. Yeah, these were known for 10 years, but not to everyone. So shadow brokers make sure that these kinds of exploits are known to more people.
Damit wie so eine Government-Malware in die freie Wildbahn.
So the way this is handled, when government malware is made public, how antivirus software adds them to their signatures or not, that has concerned us a lot this year. So the clear thing is national
So nation states are starting to see antivirus engines as national assets.
Oder interessante Daten und Dokumente, kann ja alles Mögliche sein. Und diese sag mal, Strategisierung und Politisierung.
The strategization of and politicization of the anti-malware business.
Genau, und dann kommt noch dazu diese Problematik, dass Attribute.
And then there's this this problem that attribution is difficult, and so you've got this situation.
Also Malware Tech Blog auf Twitter immer noch.
Where this malware tech blog guy still can't leave the United States, but at least he's a free man. What else? I think we should take a closer look at this.
In ihrem Twitter-Account
People on their Twitter accounts
irgendwas in Deutschland setzen.
Set their region to be somewhere in Germany because then certain people don't bother them anymore. Because the Twitter censoring mechanisms for the locality of Germany apparently share their tastes more closely because they've gotten rid of more of the Nazis. With this, the place on your that you choose for your social media account determines some the way that certain things about you are attached, and we're missing some documentation there. And hey, maybe all of us want to become virtual citizens of, I don't know, maybe it's better there. Like what you have and what you don't have. We don't know that. Maybe you should reverse engineer that or something. Maybe machine learning could help. Machine learning to the rescue.
Ja. Apache Struts.
Apache Struts was supposedly the vuln that was used with Equifax, and then they were popped. It was sort of something like Shufa in the U.S., one of the big three, with about 150 million U.S. people in the database, including in addition to ones from other countries. So complete profiles. Celebrate.
Wie nennt man sowas?
Genau, das ist ein Dienstleister, der Regierung dabei hilft, andere Leute Telefone aufzumachen.
They are a service provider of the government
that allows the government to open up other people's telephones. So they're there for surveillance and not privacy. True data richness. So, and then there were a couple of AWS buckets full of stuff for example, the Republicans had lost 198 million data rows. And how much was that? Well, that was everything, all voters. And 1.1 terabyte of data accessible and 24 terabyte data not accessible. Well, was that a very interesting thing? Well, we can compare it to 2015. We had that 2015 already. What has changed? Well, for example, they added the skin color and the political orientation of the people in their database. So we see this was used for targeting, and this is the direction we can interpolate that a bit.
Wir sehen mit Freude, dass auch Ransomware ganz vorne dabei ist bei Krypto.
We see that ransomware also does the crypto right, like using really good algorithms, but even for ransomwares, crypto stuff is hard. So rather use the reference implementation, because every time you do it on your own, it goes wrong. Or set it in another way.
Sicherheit für seine eigenen Daten mit den Keys anderer Leute.
If you want crypto security for your data with the keys of other people, it's better if these crypto malware authors didn't pay attention in the crypto lectures at their university. Right, so we see a development. The development always goes where the money is. So even 2 years ago, crypto ransomware was a good business model because you can earn a lot of money with it. But there's some funny things, like in WannaCry, where it didn't really work, or a couple of others where the question was whether it was real ransomware or just wiperware who just tried to erase all the data. So this is actually pretty good. So if you have the software on your computer and you don't know if it's ransomware or not, but there's no customer support and it doesn't follow the standards of ransomware, then it's a bit bad. So it should be good. There should be a good way to pay and customer support.
And so there are certain industry standards have developed which, as a malware developer, you should sort of follow. And outside of these industry standards, so the non-compliance, you could say, are a kind of indication that they're total Stimper.
Total idiots.
And so this question isn't always that easy, because there's a lot of total idiots out there. Not everybody knows what they're doing. But this wonderful topic of customer support, and as we all know, customers are very annoying, and you don't really want to have anything to do with them. And so many people are sort of throwing themselves at coin miners with such enthusiasm because computing capacity is used to mine coins, and so you don't have anyone on the phone that you need to explain why you're buying Bitcoin, and so the operations are much easier in this way. Ransomware is up to about a third. I think a third of malware is ransomware. There was a study about the middle of the year, August or something. And so I'm interested to see how far coin mining as a malware form will do because customer service is so much easier. And so there have been all these new coins, and how many of those new coins are ransomware friendly? Because if you think about it, ransomware has certain limitations. If you think about mobile phones, you can only really use mine on phones in the evening when they're connected to power, and stuff. So, and it would be nice to design some coins that are malware friendly. And so the question is, how do these coins develop? Situations where your data is only encrypted for 2 weeks while we're using your computer for mining, and we want your power too, or something. Yeah. From time to time, these bitcoins are seized. And then we have the question: what do you do in those situations as a country? You can turn seize things into money at some points, and so the first question is, what's it called? The state goes to the taxpayer and says, you should have sold that a lot later. So I asked some friends, how is this from a legal sense? And so we've been talking about this a lot in juristic circles and in legal circles. And of course, there aren't a lot of cases of precedent. And so maybe you treat this like seize stocks. That doesn't happen that much. And so to be sure, they apparently checked what happens if when the thieves' goods are lottery tickets, and that turned out to be an analogy that they found quite apt. And so the question is, yeah, duh, you can sell it.
Gut, jetzt müssen wir aber reinhauen.
Okay, we got to get into this now. Interesting things from more notable things from 2017 were these Bluetooth, Broadcom, and other radio vulnerabilities. You mean the other computer in your telephone? Exactly. This other operating system with the other thing that's also all over, because in all computers, there's a computer inside that has a computer inside it, in which there's another operating system on it. There's one of these things from Intel. Wait, let me see. Okay, I know. It's about to come up with it. Okay, Intel ME. Anybody? That stands for Linux Embedded?
Minix embedded.
Oh, Minix Embedded, that's right.
Oder war es die Minix Engine oder die...
Or was it the Linux engine?
Okay, wir können ihn auch zu Tode prügeln.
We can beat this one up forever, the Millennium Edition.
Eigentlich wollte ich hierfür noch ein kleines Mengendiagramm machen. Also Bluetooth, Broadcom, also Wi-Fi.
Bluetooth, Broadcom, Wi-Fi gets interesting in the moment where you reach a certain penetration. The amount of all Bluetooth and Wi-Fi devices. You have the vulnerabilities over here, and the third amount is how close they are to each other. And so you have to have a certain overlap so that it can jump from point to point. And when we'll reach such a point, here. Anybody's phone in their pocket get a little hotter just now?
Nur einen Satz hierzu.
Just one more sentence here. there was another Facebook shadow profile article without the keyword birthday, birth date.
Und wofür sie die verwenden, weiß kein Mensch.
There were no new revelations. You know, Facebook has shadow profiles, and what annoyed me is there wasn't anywhere in this whole article anything about birthday. It's pretty obvious what they're using them for. They're monetized. The interesting thing, we have this thing where we read news in the middle, and we'd rather do something other than security, obviously, but and so there are a few things that had like the word sensors in there. So like sensors being used differently than the designer of them imagined. For instance, this dolphin attack where those advertising devices were like Alexa were manipulated to do things that they weren't designed to do.
And suddenly Alexa orders a lot of cat supplies.
Cat litter, yeah.
So there's also the thing that these devices react to ultrasound, and so how long does it take to train a bat to emit the right ultrasound? So what kind of attack surface do we have from a parrot? So how long does it take to make the Furby order the cat litter? So the dolphin attack is really strange. So there's also the question is how you can get around machine learning. You just encode more things into pictures that the human can't see, but the machine can. So this was my favorite thing this year. So, you know, Ethereum is such a smart contract system. The idea is that you have contracts in form of software, and that should be a good idea somehow. And over the 3 years, where the currency has over 3.5 billion market cap, and people looked at the programming language Solidity and checked whether you can write something that looks innocent but have bugs in them. So the bugs submitted were pretty boring, nothing interesting in them. Well, the public ones, right? Yeah, the public ones. Yeah. Well, which kind of crazy person, which kind of lunatic would send something in? Well, if the price is only $1,000, well, you can be a little late. The bug bounty has to be like similarly high to the thing you can reach with an attack. And Ethereum isn't at this low. So the most interesting story was about this janitor who wrote the story on a blog platform, who tried to get rid of the mess of bad and cheap routers so they can't be used as DDoS devices. So there was this discussion how useful it was, but that's not the interesting thing. So what happens if you let machines do that? So what happens if there's an AI who tries to attack vulnerable machines and takes them down? We're not that far from that. So maybe we should just do that. There are automatic exploit kits, so we can build that and take down systems that are vulnerable and on the net. I think we'll be there soon.
Das ist nur mal so ein Datenpunkt.
So this is just a data point. There was a Star Wars botnet with over 350,000 accounts, but it didn't really do anything on Twitter. So this is a really big thing this year. So the robot or the AI or the algorithm collection that goes out and attacks systems and also gives patches to the vulnerable machines that it attacks. There's an open source toolkit for that from the Team Shellfish from the DARPA Cyber Grant Challenge. So in the Cyber Grant Challenge, the task was to develop a program that attacks other programs and also produces patches for the systems it should protect. So this clears up the thing with the cheap routers.
Ja, Tote durch Autokorrektur.
So death by autocorrect was a thing this year. There was at least one place where the autocorrect in
Processing software. In a word processing software, it was about an antibiotic that only knew one of the antibiotics, not the other, and corrected that word. And so it's kind of stupid because it's important to have the correct antibiotic because there are all these people with various allergies and stuff. And so we decided to check into how serious this problem was. It seems to like go on a little further than that, right? Because doctors dictate a lot. And so we asked Siri, how many people have you killed? But she declined to answer. I find that very suspicious.
Und Autowaschstraßen auch.
And car washing streets as well.
150 Stück, also irgendein Autowaschstraßentyp ist mal durchgetestet worden. Und ich glaube, die Videos davon durften dann nicht veröffentlicht werden.
So one of the auto washing machines was tested and the videos weren't released. So the door tried to smash the car that tried to get out, and if the people if the door got hold of a human, then they could also spray the water directly at him.
Schauen wir mal nach vorne.
So let's look forward. So in the last 7 minutes, that will be hard. That will be hard. The sensor quality problem. It's good if the cameras are getting better and better. I think a few years back we had an app that allows to see the breath with the camera, with the selfie camera. That can also take the pulse, and it can see that at the cheeks, and the refresh rate of the cameras gets higher and higher, and we're getting closer to recording micro expressions. We see whether people are nervous, feel good or bad. A lot more is possible, and it won't stop. So the result is something like the thing with ultrasound and ad bugs. So you don't know what they react to two. So adversarial input will become more interesting. So things that can damage you and can be produced by a computer will become more common. So, and they'll be controlled by a computer. This leads us to the topic of what is built into this device. How was this device built for the purpose that's the thing is being used for now? So there's a nice saying, we're on the
shoulders of giants. Yeah.
So if you use the scripture library here, and if we use this library over there, we can use it to determine the number of centimeters to the pedestrian in front of us. But if we include this library, we need to have internet access because the font is being downloaded from Google for the temperature display. It's displaying the temperature. But we can now build such a temperature display in under 10,000 lines of code. So we do stand on the shoulders of giants and can look further than others. So there's the saying, don't roll your own crypto, use a library that's good, but who patches it later on? And that's the problem. The giants they're not healthy. They only have one eye maybe, and they have clutches. I think we're missing the metaphors here. We are not standing on the shoulders of giants, but of cart houses. I think we're standing on a giant dump.
So, und jetzt kommt die schlechte Nachricht.
Now the bad story comes.
The bad news comes. That's the best case scenario. We've seen some great examples at this conference of what can happen. They're giants. They're too expensive. They're too big, and there's too much. And the giant isn't even from here. You know, I decline giants for religious reasons. I want to be a giant too. But you're only 1 meter and 30 centimeters. That's discriminating. So if you get the idea, you can implement it yourself. Because how hard can that be? Implementing a payment system. How can that be? You could use Classic for that. It already exists. It works great. And Classic means that it's a classic. Classics are always good.
Genau.
Right.
Also dieses Problem, was passiert, wenn wir
This problem of what happens when we start with machine learning and releasing it on people has been sort of following the whole thing since the keynote of Charles Voss. And there are these sort of automatically generated child videos designed for children, and we haven't seen the end of this. When you sort of think about the technology components of here, and we've got pretty good text to speech these days, and pretty good speech to text, and so calling with a machine, making a phone call. The first time that happens will probably be a advertising call, and someone from the audience says that's happened before already, and he asks, "Is it okay? Did it have understanding for you?" You know, I think that will fail because no one these days uses their phones for making phone calls.
Ja, diese Daten sind das.
All this data is the oil of the 21st century, whatever they say. That was sort of the kind of things that we put up there last year. And so what was so great about oil, you know? I mean, we've been fighting wars about it. We sort of basically extinguished our planet over all of it. You know, the jokes write themselves. Data or the oil of the 21st century, and to think about the wars, obviously, yeah, we're gonna fill the ocean with trash over it. I mean, it's the equivalent of AWS buckets.
Naja, also Halver hat da was Schönes neulich geschrieben.
So Halver wrote something nice recently. Data isn't really the oil of the 21st century. They're more the tap with burning gasoline in front of it, and you can warm yourself at it a little bit, but other than that, it's basically just got disadvantages, no advantages other than that one. You can sort of go a little further with this. If data is the new oil, then data is the new snake oil too. And then now we're back to the topic, statistics is hard. And so what you can read out from data, you have to be able to good at it. And so if you can't do that, then you can sell all sorts of things with data. And then what's sugar in the tank in this metaphorical sequence? Yeah, so we've got a little more here.
Yeah, social media.
Yeah, social media facelifting. It happens these days still. There are professionals that will sort of pretty up your Instagram account and make sure that you look beautiful and beloved. And so alternative IDs are becoming more and more important because there are countries where you have difficulties doing certain things without a Facebook ID, and so you need a sanitized Facebook profile for that. And for those that don't want to buy it, there's an app to help them manage their social score.
It would be best if that was driven by artificial intelligence. I think I'm totally into the story, and the social score is being used to check whether you get a credit or not. And a lot of that should go into that. For example, stuff from the government. If you didn't pay the parking ticket, that's a lot worse than if you didn't pay your phone bill. So I heard that health data should also go into this. So you ask yourself, what will be the consequences? Definitely a chocolate black market.
Also angesichts der Arbeitsteilung im Mailware-Sektor.
So for the split of work in the malware department.
Yeah, the value generation, the supply chain, value chain, something like that. And so everyone in this value chain gets a little bit of a kickback. Gets a little bit. You know, there's the compliance and the malware industries. They all say that this automation is not so bad because there'll be new jobs. But we're seeing all these new things in compliance, new jobs like compliance auditor in the malware sector. So new jobs being created by automation, and then Internet of Things, Ghostbusters.
Der IoT-Geisterjäger.
The IoT Ghostbusters.
Den IoT-Wünschelroutengänger.
Last year we had the IoT Wünschelroutengänge. It's someone who finds the IoT devices that are even there. And so the Ghostbuster is like the movie, the one who catches them in a way that you can then analyze them afterwards. If there's an IoT device that's been infected with malware, and you want to be able to sort of figure out the nasty stuff that's on it, then you can't sort of unplug it because it's gone. All the data is gone. And so you...
Nicht die Strahlenkreuzen. Das ist so wie bei 230 Volt, linke Leitung, rechte Leitung, so wie Strahlenkreuzen, nicht Strahlenkreuzen. Ne?
Genau, 5 Volt, 12 Volt.
5 volts, 12 volts, power. You have to sort of...
Speicher auszulesen.
You have to sort of be clever about reading the RAM of the devices, the memory of the device.
Jobs gut, wo man klein anfangen kann. Ja.
Genau, erstmal das Sample auf
with your family.
So these are needed jobs. Sorry, I need to take away your production hall, but I have to keep it on to keep it powered because I need the malware sample.
Ja, Quantencomputer in Silizium.
Oh yeah, quantum computers in silicon. The quantum.
Schwer zu sagen, ob es davon kommt oder nicht, aber zumindest sieht es so aus, als wenn wir.
The unknown things in quantum stuff. I think we can see progress in this, unless we have problems that we see today and don't know how to solve them. But if we can solve these, we might be able to build quantum computers with the traditional manufacturers, or something that looks like and feels like a quantum computer. Let's see.
Dann haben wir so ein bisschen rumgefragt, so, was geht denn so nächstes Jahr?
So we asked around what will go wrong next year. For example, in cryptography, where will be the next apocalypses? So the things we heard were Bleichenbacher, or more bad randomness, and more bad randomness in hardware, like Infineon and Estonia. So what's new? Nothing. The old stuff isn't empty yet, isn't used up yet.
Ja.
Applause.
Well, and we have cloud exorcism has just appeared on the screen.
Cloud exorcism is something. In the last years, we need
a bucket for devices for these. Alexa is a nice piece of hardware with the microphone and chips, but it has the problem of being evil, and so you need an exorcist with the cross, and it has.
So you can get rid of its bad soul. We have something, because we don't know yet whether you can give food to a family with this. Watch the talk where you can disassemble the vacuum cleaner, and where you can see that the vacuum cleaner has better securities than some financial banks.
Da ging es ja auch das Thema, wie macht man da die Cloud raus? Weil
we also asked ourselves, how do you get rid of the cloud in the vacuum cleaner? We'll get more of that, and if we did that already, maybe we can get a business model. So you can go there and give them your vacuum cleaner, and they get rid of the cloud. And I don't know yet whether they'll visit your homes or whether you buy them from there or via remote access.
Oder mit so.
Or maybe
sagen, wie so ein Alu.
little prostheses, prosthetics.
Ja, also da geht was.
Yeah. So there's something to that. And the last thing, while it,
Relativ viele Bitcoins,
The-
die da draußen sind, von denen
quite a few Bitcoins out there where people say, I think I've heard this about 5 times, I've got a few sitting around there somewhere too, but like, the drive's dead, or I don't know where the drive is, and or there are people who say, I can't remember what the password is. So what we need is, unlike a hypnotizer, which is unlike a lawyer is an actual profession, and
There's not just a predefined wage that they earn. Yeah, I think that's it. We wish you a nice way home and a happy new year 1948.
Yeah.
1984.
Yeah, a very happy 1984 to you from the stage and from us in the translation booth. This has been